Any questions? Does anyone have any questions? Yesterday's class, maybe you guys have seen the video, right? I mean, if you have any questions, you can go ahead. Okay, so today I know we'll complete the remaining slides. So we'll finish this. We'll finish this and we'll start in functional testing. Okay. Okay, so we'll get it here. Okay, so let's talk about this acceptance testing. So this acceptance testing is like, again, it's a little bit high level term. Okay, there's something called UAT too. That's user acceptance testing. Okay, so UAT is called user acceptance testing, and what they do in that is, normally customer requirements is tested. So what happens, right? Sometimes customers also send some requirements. Okay, and they might give some feedback, saying that, hey, why don't you improve this application? And I found this useful. Add some. So what they do is they, verify it. If business approves it, says, okay, this is good, and they do this. So that is one way of doing UAT. Okay, not only just that, they also see the user flow, right? How the user is able to understand, all those things. So that is UAT. So normally, UAT is a different team. So in big companies, actually UAT would be a different team actually. Okay, but yeah, in some companies, UAT, you might also do the UAT. Okay, again, this is done based on the requirements. You have the requirements, you look into it, you understand the requirements, what the requirements are saying, and what you're trying to do. Okay, so all this you do based on the requirements. Okay, so that is acceptance testing. Okay, acceptance testing is done. It's a high level testing. Okay, it's a high level testing. To be more specific, it's called UAT, user acceptance testing, and you need to, test based on the customer specified requirements. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next. Before load testing, we'll go to performance testing. Okay, what is this performance testing? So this performance testing is classified into two types. This has two sub-level, that's called load testing and stress testing. Okay, this performance testing is classified into two sub-levels, that is load testing and stress testing. Okay, so before going to performance, let's talk about this, why we actually need this performance testing. Okay, so what's the actually behind all this? Okay, we need to know, right? So we know functional testing. Okay, we know functional testing. It's a front-end testing, and you see the various applications, you see various, features and functionalities and all those things. So that is functional testing. But here, performance testing is also called as non-functional testing. So that really doesn't depend on functionality of an application, not images, not drop-down box or buttons or any sort of, but it depends more of its performance. How does that perform? Okay. So here there's two types. So let's see if let's take here. So let's say Amazon.com, right? If you have Amazon.com, and now let's take an example here. Let's say that Amazon buys a server, right? Amazon buys a server. Why do we need server? Because see, all this whatever you're seeing here is because of server, right? All this information is stored somewhere. Where is it stored? It is server. Okay. Now there's one server, but the problem is the server capability of server is it can handle only 50 amount of users, right? That means whenever a user logs in or uses this, it can only handle up to 50. What does that mean? That means see, whenever you're trying to access this URL, let's say you're putting in the browser, right? Doing this with the browser. Now, what happens when you do this is this actually goes, this actually moves to the server, and the server queries. The SQL is generated, and you're not putting any SQL in. Nobody is writing any SQL. It's automated. Now, once the SQL gets generated, it pulls up all the data what is there in the database and shows right here in front of your web page. That's what it happens when you do that. Okay. You might say, hey, it's a big deal. I just use this URL and put it here. That's done. It's good. But lot more things happen there. Okay, actually the server is querying that. There's because all this information, all these images, all these pictures are stored somewhere. Stored where? Database, right? Whenever you want to do this, you're trying to access the database. Simple. Okay, but thing is here nobody is writing SQL query or something, but it's automatically generated by some kind, that's triggering it and putting into the web page. Okay, okay, good. Now what happens is, right? Now let's say I'm a customer and I want to use this, but problem is Amazon bought one server and it's only capable of handling 50 users. Now Amazon.com is used all over the world, right? Anyone in the world can access this URL unless it is blocked, but otherwise, anyone can able to access this, anyone able to buy. Okay, so there's also international shipping, all those things. So now since this you have only, but a lot of people access it, not just 1-2 people, right? There are billion people in the world and a lot of people access this URL. Okay, now let's say the server is limited to 50 users and let's say 100 people are using this URL at once. This at once means at that point of time, right? At that point of time, 100 people are using it, but the server capability is only say 50. So can anyone answer what happens? So let's just like me. I'm not even clicking any buttons or accessing in this web page. I'm just using that URL, putting that URL to the browser, and that's it. And all over the world, it's like 100 people are accessing at once at that point of time. So can anyone answer like what exactly happens if 100 people are using this and the capability is 50? Any suggestions on this? Any idea like what actually happens? Okay, so the application becomes slow. Why? Because whenever you do something, whatever you're trying to do something, it puts some load on the server. Okay, because whenever you try to do something, why? Because a lot of things are consumed. Okay, there is a memory that usage. Okay, the processor runs fast in the server. Okay, and it has to process a lot of information, a lot of users information at once. Okay, and memory is used, CPU memory is used, RAM is used, a lot of things happen, right? So that's the reason it was only limited to 50 users, but now the 100 users are trying to access, and if you add more, it will go worse. That means the server gets blown up. Okay, it just it doesn't work anymore because the processor has to be so quick and so fast to run that, so you cannot do that. Okay, so that's the reason, right? Um, that's why you cannot use, when it is limited to 50 users, then you need to use 50 users. Okay, so let's see here, what happens, right? Then let's say they got one more server. Okay, so they got one more server, and now there's something called load balancer. Okay, now there's two servers now, right? There's two servers. One is one is we use it, and second, they use, but in between they use load balancer. Load balancer is software. Okay, it can be software, it can be hardware. Okay, so we take it as software. What exactly it does? Let's say now 100 people are trying to use this URL. Now, what it does is, let's say there are 50 people, right? There are 50 people. Does this server accept only 50 people? If there are more than 50 people, what this load balancer does is takes rest of these users and puts it in another server. Now it's good, right? Now you're balancing the load. Okay, this is called load balancer. There's a lot of load on the server, and the load, what the load balancer does is balances the load. Now there's one more server, put that all the users into next server. Okay, now that's good. Now you don't have too much load and too much stress on the server, so that the application doesn't go, slow, or it doesn't get crashed. Okay, so that is something that's called load testing. Okay, see here, see what the load testing is. So load testing is actually to test and to identify the bottleneck of an application. What is load testing? Load testing is to find out, identify the bottleneck of an application. Okay, so what you do is here, testing an application under heavy loads. Okay, heavy loads, example I told you, just we are not just clicking here. Okay, just remember, we are not just, whenever you click something, that is generated, query is generated at a server. Now when the query is generated, the processor has to run fast, now they have to generate the query and execute the query. Now nobody is doing there. Okay, nobody is manually doing, but it's automatically, it's performing automatically. Why? Because let's say, you're, let's say you're clicking this page. Okay, whenever you're trying to click, you see this URL, this has changed completely, new URL. That means that data must be in different database, or maybe different table or different structure, and everything is different. So that's why when you click this, it has to get SQL query. You have to execute that SQL query, and once it's executed, then it pulls up all the data there and shows right into the front page. Right? Does it make sense? Okay. So in the load testing, what happens is, we are just trying to test the load. That means how many people are logging in. That's it. We are not talking about any clicking or any execution, nothing. We are just using, that means how many people are using Amazon.com, this website at that point of time. That means how many people are logging into it in that point of time. That's called load testing. Okay, it's to identify the bottleneck of an application. Okay, next you have stress testing. Okay, so what you do here is, let's say 100 people are logging into it, and not only just logging into it, here they are trying to access whole application. They're clicking here, they're clicking these buttons, they're clicking in this, these icons. A lot of things are happening, and 100 people are doing at that point of time. Now that's really, that becomes really stress, because process has to really run fast, right? It has to run quite fast, because a lot of users are not just logging in it, but just querying the database, getting a lot of results, okay, and then executing it. So that's really, stress, because a lot of things happening. So that's called stress testing. That means it goes beyond load. Okay, those 100 users were not just accessing that URL. Now they are also trying to use the information by clicking there, and that queries the database. That happens, process runs more fast. Okay, so that's called stress testing. So let's see here what the definition. Stress, is beyond the specification. That means you're trying to do beyond the load. Okay, you're more load, like what? Like you're trying to put complex database queries. So that's what I mean. Okay, what do you mean by complex database queries? Is not just you're writing some query and executing it. It's when you're clicking on some web page. Now that means a complex database query, because now we don't know which database has that data into which data structure, and which table has that information. We don't know. So that is automatically generated by the server and executed by the server automatically. So that means the complex database query. Okay, nobody is doing manual here. Okay, everything is automated. So that's what it means by database queries. That means people are using it. Okay, you using in sense clicking here. Let's say some people want to window shopping, right? Window shopping. You want to click here. Use these buttons, and this moves to the next page. Say no, I don't like it. I'll go back. I'll use this URL. Okay, now okay, okay, this is good. Now I'll use this one. No, I don't like it. So this is what complex database query. Okay, you're doing it here in front end, but it's happening at the back end. Okay, and continuous input to your system under database load. So that's what you do in the stress testing. Okay, load testing is to identify the bottleneck of an application. Okay, and the stress testing is you're going beyond the load. That means 100 people are logging in it, not just logging in, they are using a lot of application, they are trying to navigate here, navigate there, and that creates, what happens in backend, it creates complex SQL queries. Okay, server creates a SQL query, executes it, shows the, puts up the information what there in the database, shows up in the web page. Okay, so all of this is called stress testing. You want to do that to see. So now what is all about? So what you do is you get graphs. Okay, in the load and stress testing, you need to plot a lot of graphs. Okay, what graphs? A lot of graphs like throughput. Okay, input system, output system, and memory usage. CPU usage, CPU memory usage, RAM usage. Okay, how much OS is using that memory, all those things. You want to plot the graphs and show to your to your boss, saying that, okay, so this is how is happening. So we are having this. So once you navigate into granularity of an application, let's say if you want to see this graph, okay, at this time when we are putting 100 users at this point of time, okay, the graph is really going low and the application is becoming slow. So what we need to do? So all that is taken care by the management, but what's your job will be more of plotting the graphs. And these graphs are automatically plotted for you by the tool. You're not doing anything manually again. There is a tool. There's a tool, it's called Load Runner. There's a Load Runner, there's a lot of tools. Load Runner, SOAP UI, I'm sorry, not SOAP UI, Load UI. Okay, Load UI. And there's many more tools. Okay, we use, so this load testing comes under regression testing because we are using tool here. Okay, this load testing you're not doing manually. You cannot call 100 people. Okay, hey guys, we are here to test an application. Load testing, no, you cannot do that because you cannot pay 100 people. This is not efficient. That's why there is a load testing. Automatically, that software generates the amount of load, how many real people use it. So that's called virtual users. Okay, so that's how you use in this load testing. So any questions? So that's about load testing and stress testing. So there's one more called usability testing. Now this is called, okay, so this is very important. I mean, user friendliness check. This looks like simple, okay, usability testing, user friendliness check. But that's really not simple. Okay, I mean, when you're trying to test usability, then you need to know a lot of things. Okay, how the customer wants to be an application, how they like it. Okay, let's take an example here. Okay, let's go back to here. Okay, I want to go here. Now, one of the example for usability testing is, let's say I'm a customer, I'm a customer, and I want to buy something, right? Let's say let's do this. Now, what will I do is, okay, now I'm an Amazon customer and I want to buy something, and let's say as I'm a customer and I know I want to sign in. Let's say the sign in button. Now, sign in button should be there right in front of my face. Why? Because I'm a customer and I want to sign in, right? Now, if you put sign in button somewhere in the footer of the page, there's a lot of information here. If you put here somewhere, how do I know I'm a customer and there's no sign in button? I'll get frustrated, right? Where do I have to sign? Why don't I see the sign in button? So that is the most important thing to see is friendliness, how friendliness it is, right? That comes under usability testing. So that's the reason you have sign in right in front of your web application, right here. And not even that, see they have a really good thing. And you know what, whenever I use this, they automatically automatically without doing anything. See this, that pop-up, it shows a pop-up, right? Sign in. I didn't do anything, and I didn't even click here. I didn't even hold my mouse. They showed up, just pop up that sign in is here. Just click. Why don't you click on this? Okay, great. You know, I can click on this. So that's how. That means usability. That means how user friendly it is. You know, how it will help you out to reach your goal. Okay, so now that's very important. It's usability. No, okay, so why do we need this? Really, what's really important? Now, if there's no friendliness, user friendliness, so that's a problem. Okay, because now business will lose customers. If there's no friendliness now, if I'm a customer of Amazon, say that, hey, where is the signing button? Why can't I get signing button? No, I'll not buy anything from this website. They're not showing signing button. Now business is going to lose. So that's the reason you need to use user friendliness. Okay. If you are not user friendly, who is going to lose his business? Okay. So that's what more important thing. And if your business loses, and so your job. Okay. So that's a very important thing in the usability industry. Okay. So what they kind of testing they do is this system navigation, you know, how the system is navigation, and you know, such kind of things like the sign in button, login button, you know, that should be right in, to make sure that it should be right in front of the, you know, application page, and the user should not get frustrated in, you know, doing this. So they have to be more user friendly. So that's one example. Let's go to the next one. Install and uninstall testing. So this is more related to client applications. So far we discussed about web application. So all these, you know, this applications what we are talking about is web application. Okay. Now, web application, there are two types. There's web application and client application. Web application is something which you access through a browser. Whatever the, you know, web pages and whatever it's seeing, you access through what? Through browser, right? That can be any browser, not just Chrome, not just Firefox, no, not just any browser. No, that's called web application. There is a client application which installs in your system, right? Which gets installed in your system. For example, Outlook. Outlook is installed in your system, right? You're not accessing to browser. This is done. So that is called, you know, client applications. Whatever is installed in your system and you runs through your system, not by the browser, is called client application. Although the protocols, you know, connects to the client server and web server, that's a different thing. We'll not go more into detail into that. But you know, anything which is, you know, done on the system is called client application. Okay. So whenever you use client application, called install and uninstall listing. Okay, so you need to install an application into your system. You need to install. So that's called install and install. So whenever you try to install something, there's a lot of things happen. Registry files get updated, DLL files, you know, gets generated. A lot of things happen. So you want to see that you have done your testing, you know, into that. So again, this is based on the requirements. That means doesn't mean that everything what is installed in your system will get tested or something. You know, it's all based on the requirements. Okay, so let's go to the next topic pretty quick. So there is something called recovery testing. Let's say your application has been crashed. Your application has been crashed, and how soon it recovers from this crash is called recovery, and you need to test on that. That's called recovery testing. Okay. How soon it recovers from the crash, and you are testing that. Okay, so that's called recovery testing. So this is called security testing. So here, you know, we want to see how a system can, you know, penetrated in the hacking way. Let's take an example here. Let's say, you know, before this, Google has to, you know, use two URLs. Okay, as HTTPS and HTTP. What is no HTTP? So there is no HTTP. Google has only HTTPS. So what is exactly this HTTP and HTTPS, right? So HTTP is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Okay, S means secure. Okay, now that doesn't mean that you put that S, it becomes HTTPS. No, that doesn't work that way. HTTP is completely different. HTTPS is completely different. Okay, Hypertext Transfer Protocol secure. Now what happens is you install a certificate. No, there's an algorithm actually. There's an algorithm. What you do online, so let's say you're making some credit card transactions, okay? Now, you have to make sure that it has to be HTTPS, not HTTP. Why? Because whenever you're trying to do this, your information is encrypted. So there's an algorithm which gets encrypted and can only be decrypted at the server side. Okay, because when you try to do something online, some hacker might get that information and use it for themselves. Say credit card information. Now, if you do some online transaction with this HTTP, okay, they might get your credit card information so easily. There's nothing you can do about it. But if you are using HTTPS, it's get encrypted in some algorithms, 32 beta, 64 beta. That thing, it generated some random, characters which hacker don't know how to decrypt it. It can be only decrypted at the end of the server. So that's how your information is protected. So that's called security testing. So this is just an example. Okay. Well, let's go to the next one. Compatibility testing. So here, what you do is you want to see the compatibility. Just like what's the hardware, what's the software you're using, what are the operating system, like are you using Windows, are you using Linux, are you using Mac, okay, so on. So you want to see that application is compatible with all other operating system, all other hardware system, all other environment. Okay, so that's called compatibility testing. There's something called comparison testing. Now, comparison is you want to compare between the two products. Okay, that's called comparison testing. So let's say, so here in the comparison testing, let's say Firefox. Oops. Now Firefox, what happens, right? I'm just giving an example here. Let's say you develop an application called Firefox. Okay, you developed an application called Firefox, and there were some issues, and you want to compare between the two different versions. So you see this, I have two different Firefox here. Okay, I want to use two different and find out which, I'm comparing the two versions, the same thing. Okay, comparing the two versions. Okay, and that's called comparison testing. Okay. Comparing the two versions, okay, of your application. Okay, it's called comparison. Let's move to the next one, alpha testing. So alpha testing is like, what happens in the alpha testing is once the code is developed, and the code, before going to production, before going to testing, the developer wants to check that. That's called alpha testing. Okay, and this is like once it's completely developed, the developer wants to test. And not only that, it's in-house virtual user environment. That means not just developer, whoever is involved in the project, right from developer, tester, project manager, lead, okay, business analyst, anyone who is responsible can do this alpha testing. Okay. But it has to be more, it has to be only limited, people who are working on the project. There is something called beta testing. Okay, so beta testing is what happens, right? Once the product is developed, it's got developed, it's gone through alpha testing, and it's going to testing phase, and all the testings are done. Okay, now this goes to the production. But what company wants, right? Let's say company doesn't trust developers and testers. That's right. They don't know. They might have done mistakes. A lot of mistakes. Everyone does mistakes. Now, what they do is, they say, okay, why not customers do the testing? Okay, that's called beta testing. Now this is done by the user. They release the product. Now they don't release the complete product. They just release a demo version, and they say, okay, why don't you do this beta testing? And if you find any issues, why don't you report it? Okay, so that's called beta testing. It's done by the end users. Once the beta testing is done, they will, say, okay, now you're good. Now you need to buy this software. Okay, and use it. And you cannot use any more beta version. Is there a beta version? Well, that means that's only for beta testing. Okay, any questions? So that's pretty much all about testing.
Yeah, Manu,
Yeah.
can you please repeat alpha testing once again?
Which one?
Alpha testing.
Okay, sure. So alpha testing. Okay, so what is this alpha testing? Alpha testing is, let's say, so here's the thing, right? There are three environments. Now I told you, right? Development environment, test environment, and production environment. Okay, now once developer completes its development, the code is moved into test environment. Okay, now before moving to the test environment, you want to do this alpha testing. Okay, so it's more for a developer point of view than testing point of view. So testers won't normally involve in this, but again, it's really based on companies' policies. Companies, however the policies are complete, it depends on that. But okay, most of them it would be a developer who will be, does this alpha testing. Once the developer is done, like that means all the features have been, all the functionalities have been added, all the features have been done. Developer wants to do alpha testing, so that's called at the end of the development. The development is done and wants to do alpha testing. That's called, and this most of the time it is for the developers. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so any more questions? Okay, so let's move to our, now we'll actually, talk about this. We have completed all introduction part. Here we see how we are supposed to do our job, right? That's called testing. Okay. Now what happens, right? Let's say you went to the project. Let's say you've gone into the project, and your boss hired you. Okay. Now it's been like 1-2 days, and it's been a lot of time, and your lead says, "Why don't you start testing?" Right? Okay. Now, let's say lead says, okay, it gives the URL. Okay, this is what you need to do. This is a tested environment, and why don't you start testing on this application? This is a web application, and you really don't know what it does and what is this application is all about, but you need to start testing. Now, you're not going to ask tester what I need to test. No, that's not really a valid question. Okay, you cannot ask that to tester. No, that will be really a wrong question if the manager is about. No, then really will be in trouble. You cannot ask, okay, to the tester that what I need to test. No, this really doesn't make sense. You know, because you know all the testers, you have gone through all the testing, you know what to do, right? Now, what happens, right? Now, what question you can ask is, what are the various types of testing are we doing? Are we doing smoke testing? Are we doing sanity testing? Are we doing integration testing? Do we also have regression testing and performance testing? That's the question you need to ask. But you cannot ask directly that what I need to test. No, it's really not. valid question. Okay. So somehow you figure it out. You have this website from your colleague or from your lead, or from talking about this, about your friends. You found out this application that you supposed to test this application, and you have all the documents from the SharePoint. They give you access to the SharePoint. You download the documents. You've done this. You've seen various documents. Yeah, this is what it is. This is what you need to test. Okay, great. Now here, let's click this button. Okay, great. This is a retail company. Okay, found out. Okay, good. Now let's start testing this. Okay, now I want to put some values here. Place an order. Okay, and I'm going to click proceed with order. Okay, I want some information here. Put some information here, and we want some my credit card information. Okay, and I'll just put my credit card. What is this? Just put expiry date. And my billing address is same as shipping address, so I check mark this and click on place the order. Okay, great. Now I have just placed an order which will arrive. That's 3% on date, and all this is good. Okay. I got this receipt. Receipt says there's really no receipt, it's just online store receipt, and this will just move out once you change it. So you have option return to go home. So what have you? So my question to you guys is, what did you test? So just put some number, some random number 10, and you just follow one process. Just put it, but did you find any defects? So my question to you guys is, did you guys found any defects in this process? I know I went very fast, but my question to you is, did you find any defects? So most of the answers I'd say will be no, because you didn't really, do any testing there. Okay, you didn't do any testing. You just put something and just put it on. Now you need to start testing here. So now what you do here is, the moment you come up, this is right from here. Okay, right from here you start testing. You click on this button. Let's say I'm interested more into this page, and that's why I'm trying to test this. Now whenever you start testing, there are three types of testing you need to perform. One is positive testing, another is negative testing, and the other is boundary values. Okay. The positive testing is something which is, let's say if it's quantity order, then order is, it should be always in numbers, not in alphabets. So that's called positive testing. That means always number 1, 2, 3, so on. Not negative numbers, not whole numbers, just numbers. Okay. So that's called positive. Negative testing is something which is other than that, other than what the numbers are, -1, okay, not really characters, alphabets, just A. That's really not a number. So that's a negative testing, because this is not supposed to meant to take alphabets, it's only meant to take numbers. So that's what it comes about negative testing. Now there's a boundary testing, that's like 0.001. Okay. Let's kind of decimals. I go into decimals and do the testing. Okay, so that's the three types of testing you need to remember. Okay, so it's a positive scenario, negative scenario, and boundary values. Okay, so now let's do some. Now let's talk about this positive thing. Okay, let's talk about this positive testing. So what I want to do is I want to test this application, right? So I'm putting big number here, and we'll see what it does. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is testing, right? So you need to come up with all your creative ideas to do this testing. Okay, now you have this, and I'm just placing this order. Okay, Now, once I place the solver, there is an bug here. Can anyone find out what's the bug? Can anyone tell me what's exactly the bug here? There's a bug here. Okay, I'm trying to order these many quantities, and anyone? There's a bug in this page. Bug itself defect. That means, okay, which is not supposed to be there. Okay, but it's still there. Grand total. Okay, this might be right. You might calculate all this, and they might put it here. So, and this is unit price is multiplied with this quantity, and that's the number they come up with. So this should be good. So, okay. So the bug here is shipping and handling fee. That shows us $5. So my question to you is, do you really think USPS, if they send all this through USPS, USPS only charges $5 for these many large quantities? Let's take an example here, okay? Let's take an example that I know, okay, they might ship it in different and it should be, they will make it free because, you're placing this many hours. But here, shipping and handling fee is showing us $5 when you're trying to order these many large quantities. So nobody is doing social service here, right? So you will not get $5 for these many quantities and this much money. Okay, so that's a different story. That company will say, okay, you're buying this, we make it free because you're paying more than $100, this is completely free for you. No delivery charges. Okay, that's a different thing. But here you cannot get $5 because the quantity is increasing. You will pay more. Okay, you cannot pay less because once the quantity increases, the shipping and handling also increases. But here it's showing $5. That's a bug. Okay, so that's one bug that is in this application. Okay, so let's go to procedure and check out. Okay, so everything is good. Now so that's one. Okay, that's one bug we find out. Let's talk about this, another bug. So here I'll be giving you homework. Okay, make sure you guys do the homework. Um, okay, just make sure don't come up with bugs which I have told in the class. Okay, now if you say you use 1,000, I'll use alphabets. No, that's the same thing. Okay, you'll be coming up with the same thing. Okay, so make sure you be creative. Find out a lot of bugs here. If you don't find in this application, there's Google application. There's a lot more than actually there is. Okay, you have to show to the developer that this application is broken. That's why they pay you, right? They hire you because to show them that the application is broken. That's true. Every application is broken until you notice it. Okay. Now here, let's take another example to take a defect. Okay. So here I'm putting just A. Okay. Let's use some different browser here. Okay. Let's take this Firefox. Okay, so now what I'll do is, now I'll just put A. Now, A is not a valid number, right? It's now you're trying to do a native testing. Now, it says, okay, please enter only digits in the field. Makes sense because, A is not a digit and you cannot proceed with A. Now, for some reason, it went through. Wow. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Quantity is A. To be shipped, unit price $2.99, total price $5. $5 for what? I'm not paying $5 for nothing. Is zero and nothing is going to ship. And the quantity is A. What is A? This is the thing. Quantity should be in numbers, not in alphabets, right? Now you are still going to this proceed with order, and you're still filling up this form, and you're still going into this, and that's a bug. Does it make sense? Okay. So this is a bug. And okay, let's take one more bug. Okay. So after this, I'll be giving you homework. Make sure you guys do the homework. Okay, always, whenever you have to do the homework, always make sure you come up with 3 scenarios. That is positive scenario, negative scenario, and boundary values, all this. And also not just Chrome browser, you need to do with all the browsers. You have to do with Chrome, you have to do with Firefox, you have to do with Safari. If you're Mac, that's good, go with Safari. Okay, you have to do with, if there's Opera, just, do with Opera, or if you have IE, go ahead and, get IE, and if you have Microsoft Edge, then go ahead with Mac. So you need to do with all of these browsers, okay, because this application should be compatible to all these browsers. It should not be, it should be browser user friendly, right? All the, because in some browser it works, some browser it doesn't work because Java is different, JavaScript is different, all those things. Okay, but here we are just trying to find a bug. We are not really interested in solving a bug because that's the job of a developer, right? They will find out what the issue is and they will fix it. Okay, now let's find one more. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to order 100. Quantity 100. Let's see. Oh, it's going through. Okay. Now let's check it out. So what exactly is this all about? If you click on this URL, just try to click on this. It has some information here. Okay, it says in stock 23. That means they have only 23 in stock. Now, if you get more than this, that means it's a backlog. That means they don't have this in stock. They have to get it from somewhere, prepare this, order from manufacturer or something, and they need to get. No, but they're not doing that, right? They are only 23 in stock. That means the number cannot exceed 23 here in this quantity. Okay, the number should be below or equal to 23. Okay, let's see, I'm putting in 100. Let's go here, let's see what happens. Oh, it's going through. Now it's going through. Okay, and I'm placing this. Okay, now here you see this customer is billed for 100. That means he's got billed for all this, but how many he will be getting? Only 23, because it says 23. There is no, he's not getting more than 23 yet. Okay, so that's a bug. Now customer paid for 100, for 100 quantity, but he's getting 23. Now he gets frustrated here. Okay, now he is confused. Okay, customer gets confused. What's going on, right? My credit card got charged for 31,000. Okay, from $3.95, and I'm getting only 23. What is this? He tries to call them. They're not responding it. they're not taking care of it, or business is getting loose here, because now they have to pay him more than what actually the price, okay, because they made mistake of not putting that application properly. Now, if that guy didn't see it, okay, user, of course, why does user have any, they don't care about quantity, they want the product, 100, I bought 100. So they never see 23 here, and they don't even know what's the bug there. There was bug here, so it allowed 100 quantity, but it's not supposed to, because this limited 23, but customer got billed, and he will get lawsuit. Company will get lawsuit, lot of lawsuit, because now not even just this amount, they will be also paying fine, and this is lot of the company will be paying lot more money than the small issue here. Okay, this is small issue because this not supposed to accept more than 23, but it's going to accept. Okay, and it's going through the application, and the customer got billed, and this customer is frustrated because those guys are not responding to the calls, they're not responding to the emails. Okay, we just goes directly file a lawsuit, and company will end up paying more than what actually the issue is. So that's what they don't want. Company doesn't want this, right? Because they will be paying more if more than what actually it is, right? They just need a small bug here, which is can be fixed easily. Okay, and if they don't fix it, they need to pay more money at the end. Does it make sense? So that's the reason. Okay, you need to be very careful in testing this application, and it's a responsibility of a tester to test an application. So all this is a responsibility of a tester. Any questions so far? Okay, so that's how you need to always make sure you have tested. Now there's lot more bugs, there's a lot of bugs. Okay, just not this application. If you see the new application, you will find a lot of bugs. Okay, that's a different story. You don't work for that company and you cannot submit defects. That's a different story altogether. But there are bugs. There will be bugs because these are all unnoticed, and they're not taking care of it, and that results, end of the okay. So make sure all this application is being tested. Okay. So this is just one example given here. So when you are doing your homework, okay, make sure you do all this. Okay, so there's a lot of more bugs than you can find. You might find a lot more issues. Okay, here, but it's not just this page or any other page. Okay, you can find a lot more issues. You don't come up with, okay, now this is green color, it should be blue color. This image is on the right side, it should be left side. Don't come up with such kind of things, because we don't have requirement for this. Now you can say that if you match with the requirement. So the requirements have, requirement might have saying that, okay, this is located in left color, so that's why it's a right color. No, that's wrong. No, that's a defect. Now that's a different story when you have a requirement. Here we are not talking about any requirements here. Okay, so we have this application. We need to test this, and we are testing based on this common sense. Okay, so normal general knowledge. When this button, what this button is supposed to do? It's supposed to reset. So that's what its job is. Which has to reset. Reset even if there is anything in the field, right? So is this button working fine? Okay, is this button working? Okay, so all these things you need to. So we want to see, first we need to test based on common sense and knowledge, okay, general knowledge. Okay, so don't come up with questions for now. This should be in blue color, this should be in green color, this is, it should be in red color. No, I don't want such kind of issues. So that's really not a valid issue because we don't have requirements for this. Okay, when you don't have requirements, you really can't tell the difference. Okay, so you really cannot say that. But what I want is what the is supposed to be as per your knowledge. Let's say if I'm clicking here, it's saying like stock 23, and that really explains a lot more things than what it is. Okay, because 23 in stock, that means they have only 23. They cannot ship more than 23, and if you are putting 100, that means this is already clear that you are not going to ship 100. Why? Because in stock 23. So this goes to the backlog. Okay, it goes to the backlog, and the company has to get that somewhere to manufacture the product or do something and get that. Now that's really not happening. Okay, now that's really not going to happen. So it's not supposed to allow 100, but it's allowing. It's trying to get you into the next page. Okay, so that's how you need to be more creative to get defects. Does it make sense? So again, you need to follow three important things. That is, you need to positive scenario, negative scenarios, and boundary values. Any questions? Okay, if no one has any questions, can we close this class for today? So tomorrow I'm sorry, not tomorrow, that's Monday. So we start test management tools, okay? We'll talk about that. So far, any questions? Any questions in the debate? So I'll be sending an email. Make sure you guys do the homework. Homework is due on Monday. Okay, if no questions, can we close this class for today?
Actually, Manu.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, Manu.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you say you'll be emailing us the homework?
Yes, I'll be emailing the homework. Before 4 p.m. So I'll be emailing by 1 p.m. 2 p.m. But no expect before 4 p.m. and make sure you guys do the homework.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you guys.